Thank you, Vineet ji and Graham, for joining this fireside chat in which we will speak about operational excellence and smart manufacturing. So my first question to you, Vineet ji, is about digital transformation, the topic which is close to your heart, and you have spent over 2.5 decades in this. So it is said that the digital transformation is a journey, and digital transformation has several elements and also many objectives. My question to you is, could you shed light on the prioritization of what elements to focus on first?
Sure. So there are two parts of your question. If I understand it correctly, is digital transformation a journey or not? Second, what are the key elements of that? Right. So digital transformation is a journey, right? It can't be if somebody hires me or says that, okay, I will pay you 10 million, let's say, right? And you transform my company in 1 year, I will definitely say no to it. The reason and the truth of any of these transformations are it's a continuous process, right? It is not that if I join a company, I will start it. So it is not the thing which I will start, and it's not the thing which can be done in a definite timeline, right? It's a continuous process. And the reason behind this is that there are new technologies that keep coming up there, right? There are things, new processes, new approach which keeps coming up, right? So digital transformation is all about adding value to the business, right? Either it is a top line value or a bottom line value. So if whether we are doing it through a technology or a process or a people side of it, anything which we do, right? It's a digital transformation. People can also use word like a business transformation or digital. It's used intermediately, but it's all about adding to the top line and bottom line of the company. If we are able to do that, either I will tell you, I've seen places where just by upskilling or cross-skilling people, we have seen that happening, right? There are places we need just process change, right? Big believer of that, right? I've seen using Six Sigma, lean concepts. There has been a lot of stuff happening, right? And technology is another enabler, right? I will say that it's another tool in the entire process which can be used for this transformation. That's the way I say it. On people's side, we are trying to drive their transformation. On process side, trying to apply TQM, trying to apply lean concepts, Six Sigma to help with that. On the technology side, there are all the industry 4.0 technologies which is used, right? And so everything, end of the day, if it adds value to the business in terms of top line or bottom line, it's valuable. It all depends on what's the purpose, right? So first we look at and this is a very generic answer, where any of leaders like me, it's that there are many leaders across the board, right? Everyone applies with the same logic. Try to identify where is the low hanging fruit, right? Something which you can clearly identify, can add value to it, right? We were chatting earlier and I told you, right? Technology is not something businesses are yet to adopt. Rather, technology should solve business problems. So technologies are there for businesses, not businesses are not there for technology, right? So what we do is we try to understand the business problem. So generally, every leader, every company, what they are trying to do is identify what are the pain areas, right? If a particular performance of a plant it is low, or if a particular process, right? Let's assume a sales and marketing, we know that we can achieve that target, but we are not able to achieve that, or there is a supply chain gap. So looking and understanding the KPI, which is really bad as a number, and then try to do either do a time and motion study or look at the data, try to do analysis, and then try to understand how this can be improved. Either it can be improved by just changing the process, something happening with the people skills because they are not doing, or does it needs a technology intervention where you need to understand the end-to-end visibility, right? There are times we don't have the data, so we can't explain why it is happening. So there are a lot of places and a lot of companies in the world currently are trying to make sure the dark side of the world is visible to them, rather which is blank to them completely. They are trying to get the data around that. That's the first thing. So if you ask me, my first job should be, or anyone's first job should be, to make sure they have the data. If data is there, then everything else can be done. So that should be the first priority. And while it may not directly generate an ROI if you are trying to calculate an ROI, but there are three levels of digital transformation. And this is a very basic question. I answer it many times, but I will add to that, right? First is digitization. Are we digitizing it so that we have the single source of the truth, right? Second is digitalization. That is about bottom line impact, right? Are we trying to optimize costs? Are we trying to increase the throughput? Are we trying to focus on asset availability? Are you trying to focus on defect reduction, or are we trying to focus on safety? So these are the five things which I see on the bottom line side of it, or the digitalization side of it. And digital transformation is all about top line, right? How can we sell more? How can we make more money? So that is the way I summarize. And if I have to pick or prioritize stuff, the way I would do it is identify the pain areas, look at what all solvable quickly, and maybe money should not be consideration. Money definitely. So you never set up a shop assuming that the customer will come, right? So in the same concept, you have to spend the money first sometimes, and then the money will come back. So it's very, very important, and every company should focus on that.
Yeah, I like the way, Vinitji, you mentioned that technology is there to solve business problems, and the low-hanging fruit and what is the purpose or the pain area of those initiatives of transformation should be the driver for prioritization. And the three layers of digitizing, digitalizing, and digital transformation. With this, you also mentioned about the third element of digital transformation, which is technology. My next question to you is on the industry 4.0 and more technologies which are evolving, ever evolving rather very fast at a very rapid pace. What kind of digital technologies, Vinitji, excite you the most, which you want all the plants, all the businesses to have it in next couple of years uh, to implement and adopt?
Yeah, yeah. See, if I had entire money and entire time, I would create. When I was talking to one of the partners who works with us very closely, one of the big companies of the world, right? I was telling them I would like to create a process digital twin of entire company if I had the power, so that I know. So currently, how do we do a review of a business? We do a review based on, okay, how much is the EBITDA, what is the COPQ, what is the cost of production, right? Whether the production went up or down, right? This is on a plain Excel sheet or a paper, right, or PowerPoint. I would love that review to happen on a if I call it a dashboard, right? A dashboard and more of an insight, and which is a overall process view of that. So from where the customers are coming, whether the customer sizing has gone. So if it was a pandemic time, right, the customer sizing had gone down, right, and how much it went down should be visually shown, maybe with a kind of a heat map or something, right? Then next in the value chain, right? Mining side of it. Let's assume mining is the next one, right? Are we able to mine enough, right? Because of pandemic, it may have gone down, or because of non-asset availability, it has gone down, or because of something else, it has gone up, right? So a trend month over month, year over year, everything visible on a single page where the entire process is there, right? This also gives us an alert. So this is for a management level, but for a somebody who is an operational, they should get an alert that what's happening, right? What is the problem, right? What can be improved? Alert, some kind of alert of some kind of a predictive maintenance alert kind of thing, right? So if these kind of things happen in the future, and so that's the reason, right? I love this concept of digital twin and process digital twin, and it should be done like a Lego block. There should be a solutions where you just pick, plug and play, and start working on a digital twin. So when can we do that? That would be my first target. Metaverse is a very interesting topic. I am quite interested on, and I would definitely want to do a lot of more study around that. And I feel it will bring a lot of impact. The right use cases, the right impact will keep building on that. But that's another area which I'm watching very, very closely. AI, ML, this will all get commoditized in future, right? There are people who will just be ready with the solutions. There are consumers who will be ready to consume that. It will be just okay. It will be off the shelf. You just buy it, you apply it, and you just start using it. That is where the world will go.
You mentioned about process digital twin, management view of the dashboard of all the key parameters, and then down the line, operation and maintenance people getting to know what to do, the alerts and the steps to be taken. It's very interesting. And you mentioned AI ML will be more or less commoditized, which will be integrated into everything what we do as a process. Graham, my question to you on this is, from your view, what kind of digital technologies excite you the most, and which you have seen are getting adopted and are getting evolved in time to come?
Yeah, it's a really interesting area. We as a technology company are always pushing the envelope ourselves. A lot of what Vineet mentioned is similar to where we see some things going. A few more sort of direct things related to like the maintenance and operational world that we see happening more and more often, as well as perhaps a couple of things that I'd love to see more of. One that I'm watching very closely is the automation of inspection, through drones and robotics. We're starting to see a lot more trials. Everybody's seen, Hyundai and Boston Dynamics, the dancing dogs, right? Which seems trivial, but, even 5 years ago, that was not something that was ever possible. And, from a maintenance perspective, the ability to, generate that insight that Vineet was mentioning about an alert. Well, wouldn't it be great if there was, connectivity to a drone or robotic device that could go out and do a number of inspections without anybody ever having to be involved from human time. So that way, when a professional, highly skilled, trained person that makes decisions comes to look at the problem, they have the video, the walk around, some thermal camera imaging, on and on and on of what's happening, and immediately they just have this more depth of information that didn't require anything to do with a work order or a scheduling or, oh, I'll get to that next week. Just none of that is even applicable anymore. It just is ready to go for, okay, the team is going to come together and let's make some decisions. So, we're starting to see more and more of that, and that excites me a lot, because it's just going to, it's not going to eliminate people. It's just going to make us more productive. And I find that to be, anything that makes, a business more productive adds value right up, I think, Vineet's alley for, we're solving that problem of, where do we spend our time and attention as people? I think one of the other ones is augmented reality. I'm really interested to see where some of that goes, and that's not purely from even a maintenance perspective, but walking around a plant, you want to inspect something, how do I avoid having to dig through the paper to find out, various information about this process, or when was the last maintenance record, or on and on and on, right? I think, or if you're in the middle of a maintenance activity per se, how do I have access to an expert? And I think that's going to be really interesting as a service offering from like OEMs in the future, going, I have machinery expert, Joe, on tap for our customers, at global scale. So if you're doing work and you want to dial in for, pay-per-use of that expert, now you have AR augmenting and again making people more productive. I think that's going to be a really interesting area to see how that evolves in different business models and how it gets delivered. And the technology is starting to be there, where AR is a viable offering. I think automated safety monitoring, I've seen some really neat stuff in video cameras mixed with AI that are able to, like, in advance of an incident happening, send some notifications to people. So again, the connected worker and how, you can, and I mean, I don't know if anybody on this call has been involved in the operational part of a business, but the worst day you could ever have is somebody dying when you're in leadership, and you're responsible for that. Like that's just, it's a horrible feeling. And even a major injury, even if it's not, somebody fatality. So, anything that can help on that side of it, I think is really an interesting area too. And then, I think, along Vineet's line of, this digital twin and integrating all this into a dashboard, I think that's going to come too. I've seen some of the stuff that happens, with, Saudi Aramco, their big board for the entire operation. It's super cool, and even, some of the stuff, Jack Ma did with Alibaba, in terms of their, dashboard for how they run their operations. Some of those, things with Alibaba are a little easier because it's a pure digital business rather than, an operational one with, mining and trucks and lots of people. But I think that will come too. So that's just a few highlights, but, it's a really interesting question, and I could go on for hours.
So while Graham brought that, let me add few more which we have been looking for, right? So on safety side, right? I'm sure you guys are aware of the startup program Spark, which we have, right? And through that, Nanoprecise is also working currently in a couple of our sites, right? So on safety side, right? Whether it's about intrusion or helmet detection, many use cases, right? Speed, there are many of them, right? We have been quite focused. One of the most important thing from our chairman, from the CEO, group CEO, and all the CEOs, one of the most important thing they focus is on safety, right? So that is one use case. There is a lot of attention. We are working, doing many things towards that, right? How can we? Another thing which currently I'm exploring, this is another on the process digital twin, but this is inside mining, where we want in future a man and machine seamless interaction. When I say that, right, if a human is there inside, there is no way there should be a machine near it, or there should be no accident. How can we stop that without a third party intervention? When I say third party, a human capital is there, a machine is there, and nobody should be able to, or it should automatically stop if a machine is coming towards a human, right? That is the level of precision. The day we achieve, we will be really bringing a lot of value. So that is another. Safety is a big important area I'm watching. I'm not from the technology standpoint, but more from the value standpoint, which the businesses we will see going forward. I see in future, safety will be one of the most important thing all the technologies will help with.
Yeah, very well said, both Graham and Vineet ji. Besides safety, of course, the new age digital technologies have the promise of and potential to increase efficiency, cost reduction, improve customer experience, employee experience, and much more. What are the ideal metrics, Vineet ji, for optimization, specifically for setting the right KPIs? And how do you align your metrics with your organizational goals and operations?
So if I understand your question correctly, you are looking at how we define the KPIs?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the most basic thing. And one of the CEO I was talking to, he said that if we don't have the base KPI, what are we trying to solve? That's a very fair ask, right? So this is the most important thing. First, you have to understand if we are doing some work, are we doing it? And again, going back to my thought process, are we just trying to apply a technology to your business or really trying to solve a problem? So first, we need to understand what is a business problem. Convert that to key KPIs, right? Either let's assume the areas which are there under my organization, right? Assets. Is it about asset availability? That is a problem? Or utilization is a problem? If availability is a problem, there is a different approach to that. But if the utilization is a problem, then there may be a planning gaps, right? On the quality side of it, right? Whether it's a incoming material quality problem, or it's a process quality problem, or a finished good quality problem, right? For every of them, that it will be different KPIs and different approach to solve the problem. Or coming back to more of a crude term in terms of cost of production, right? If we have to calculate cost of production, if that is a problem, then we will double click and understand what exactly made it go up. right? What was the problem? There has to be some baseline to that. And generally, the way any organization does it, that they look at the last 1 year, or maybe few people just eliminate the pandemic years because that may not be the right data, right? But the best of the years, what did they do differently, right? And define that as a that base KPI for them, and then try to see. And there is always a standard deviation, right? There no businesses goes with the same flow, right? What is the standard deviation? What made the process better, and what the made the process worse? Try to understand both of them. Things which was done better, understand, and why did it go better, right? What was the So there are technologies like APCs people apply, right? It's like a superhuman working continuously. If you have a best of the operator, he knows the right parameter, he knows what exactly need to be mixed, what is the different monitoring has to be done, right? So APCs are helping that a lot. We are applying that a lot. I see about immediately about a 50 million impact on the cost side if we do on the APC side. And we have already identified and we are working on it, right? There are many places already we have seen the value out of it. So it all depends on what is the purpose, and if you are able to define the problem well, uh, and and then like in cane business, right? It's all about how many barrels we produce, right? If it is going down, so the base KPI will become the number of barrels. Are we able to increase them? If you are, and how to increase that, then there, whether it's a people side of it, process side or technology side of it, then the team goes deep inside. And most important thing, it is not about the people who call themselves the digital people. It's about the business people, because they are the closest to these problems. They understand the process best. So digital team is only enabling them with all these tools. They go with all these tools and technologies and help them really reflect on what's the problem so that it can be solved.
Very interesting. At the COE, the Center of Excellence, your job is quite challenging in terms of all these businesses of Vedanta Group. And you are enabling the transformation to create value or unlock value through digital initiatives. It's very interesting and challenging job profile, Vinitji.
I will tell you, it's a lot of learning. I am privileged to be getting this kind of opportunity where I can contribute back to the company. And it's not about me. Actually, I've got great 6 different leaders leading each of the functions. We have picked best of the best people in each of the function, and they are doing extremely good job in bringing those values to the company.
Graham, I would also like to have your view on this from a global perspective, and also global meaning the other geographies which are at different advanced or different stages of adopting digital technologies, uh, and also different sectors, because your solutions also is applied to different industry sectors. So could you please give your views on setting the right KPIs and how you have seen organizations doing this, aligning with their goals?
Yeah, it's a really from a global perspective, I don't think it differs much from place to place, honestly. Um, in my experience, uh, you know, whether it's Asia Pacific or Middle East or North America, business is a language of its own, and it's pretty universal. Going, if you have the X's and Y's, to take some terminology from Lean, is well, if I'm trying to get Y and I started with X, then what's in between, and let's figure out what we need to tweak in order to get more Y. And Lean and Six Sigma frameworks are great as a good common language. So if if your organization is looking for how to train people to speak the same language on how to analyze problems, that's a great place to start from a cultural perspective. And that's not there's a huge following of people out there, and those are not magic really. What they are is trying to build common terminology so that you can analyze problems and create these KPIs. So okay, we have a problem, how do we discuss the problem to build these KPIs so that we can then work on tweaking or adding or removing even sometimes certain things to get where we want to go. And that may be digital, but as Vineet said at the beginning, sometimes it has nothing to do with digital or technology. It has to do with people or process or other things. I think we've talked a little bit about technology as a tool. Technology is not the purpose. So and this is the same thing, like startups, we're a mature startup, but we're still a startup. And this is the number one problem with startups, is sometimes they're a solution in search of a problem. And they often fail when they do that, because they're going, well, this is a neat tech. And it's like, well, sure. And to a certain extent, my example earlier of like robotics and drones. So Boston Dynamics has been around for like 20 plus years, right? They have been a technology that's been in search of a problem for a long time. And most recently, this, robotics-based dog for inspection has become a really interesting use case. So there's a balance there of like, sometimes the technology has to mature far enough for a real use case to actually come into existence. But in terms of setting KPIs, to get back to your earlier sort of question, it really, you have to look at the problem itself. But if we're talking about say predictive maintenance, really it comes back to, well, number one is reducing downtime, reducing major failures. Those are very easy KPIs to be like, well, these are very tangible, very easy to look at. And there's a few others that are supplementary, but those two are just like top of the list in process industries.
Yeah, as Vinitji said, that asset optimization in terms of availability or asset uptime, and also the utilization.
Yeah, OE
Absolutely.
and all that. These are standard terms. So these are, so generally any of these digital and everyone, right? We try to make sure we are solving a business. So OE has been there from years. It's only that we are using that to actually address the problem, understand in baseline, and then solve the problem.
Absolutely. Graham, I have a question about scaling up of these solutions in terms of its application across our organization, and scaling up basically. Why do digital transformation projects get stuck in the pilot purgatory phase mostly, and how to scale it up?
Yeah, good question. And Vineet, happy to have you weigh in as well. But I guess in our experience, there's several reasons, and it's not always all together, but it can be a combination as well. So sometimes an organization will define the problem poorly, or it's not the right fit. So again, technology is not the point; it's solving a problem. So if there's disagreement internally about whether is there even a problem here, and then B, what is the definition? So that can be problematic, and that's a bit of a cultural thing. Going, how mature is an organization in terms of defining goals and objectives? And that's sometimes not even aligned at different levels inside an organization. So that can be a challenge, where you have a firm champion and a firm believer who thinks they have a very defined problem, they know what they need to do, but they haven't been able to communicate it to the right levels within an organization, either up or down, or even to peers. So that can turn into a pet project that goes nowhere. So that is one example. I have found that making technology plays into an IT project is a surefire way to have these things fail and not scale, because IT oftentimes is divorced from business objective. They're another tool, and sometimes these things get lumped into a particular department that could be termed IT or something like that, where they're kind of in a silo, and the operations team doesn't believe or is not part of it. And I think Vineet, you talked a little bit about that earlier, going, how do you make some of this stuff, part of your culture? And that is a challenging thing to do, in some organizations. Some are more mature than others, but that can be a real challenge too. I think, blindly applying AI or ML is another example where people think they're magic wands. They're not. Knowing where and when to use a tool. It's kind of like saying, well, you can use a wrench as a hammer, but it's not a very good one. So there, sometimes it's just the wrong tool for the job, and partly that's on the technology people and vendors to go, hey, we just don't think we're the right fit for this. And that's a really hard thing for a company to say when you're trying to grow and solve problems and whatnot. And but sometimes you just really have to go, look, you're either not ready. This is not the right fit. We're not going to be successful here, and you just need to either define the problem differently, or we need to do something else. So that's just a few examples.
Absolutely. Would you like to add something to this, Vineet?
Yes. I know Graham told me to also add. So I think a couple of things, and maybe this will relate back to your previous question, Manish, like in terms of KPIs, right? So if I have to really define at the top level, right, 3 KPIs I always focus on, at whatever we talked about. Is it impacting volume, right, of material whatever producing? Is it impacting cost, like reducing the cost, right? Or is it helping business on ESG, right? If these 3 things are not happening, right, first thing is we should not try even a POC, right? If I have to, right, just for sake of doing a proof of concept, let's not try to do that. The problems, the reason we fail on POC is because of lack of data. I have seen that happening a lot of time in my career because of lack of data. Legacy applications, sometimes you don't have the plug, right, to fit in, right? So that's a problem, but you have to figure out an interface. I always believe that we have to think this like a Lego block. You will never get a most modern equipment to try your technology, right? So we have to look at a Lego block. Few companies who always believe they are giving the best and they cannot adopt. I think we talked about the topic of adoption, right? They cannot adopt to the needs of the business, they will fail, or they generally fail, right? But if somebody knows that how to find the right adopter or connecting to the legacy applications, I think they will succeed, because end of the day, it's all about business value. It's not about technology. So I have seen that kind of opportunities where either we are not able to find the right KPIs or address right the KPIs, second, not having data, and third, not able to find the right places to apply that because of the legacy, and those people who believe, okay, it's a legacy application, my technology cannot be applied, right? It should be other way around, right? You have to figure out how to adopt your technology or whatever you're bringing in to the legacy.
Yeah, Vinayji, well said that the lack of data and integration with the legacy systems is the key to scale up the solutions. I have a question related to data now. Data acquisition would also depend on what kind of sensors are getting used for the plant, which has both legacy as well as modern equipment. Do you think, Vinitji, completely SIM card based wireless sensors are the future? And how much does the solution scalability matter to you, considering its mass deployment?
Yeah. See, I think when you said SIM card, maybe you are also thinking about the eSIM kind of scenarios now, right? So SIMs are going non-physical, it's going virtual, right? So yeah, I feel that's one of the approach. Then using the technology, so either it's a 5G or LoRa or Wirepass, I think any of these technologies, right? Somebody which can communicate seamlessly with these IoT devices. So there are 2 components to that. One is the right devices which can capture the data. See, in Industry 4.2, it's all about how data moves from the source system to the cloud system or the places where you can take some right decision, right? It's all about that, right? So having the right tags which can collect the data, right communication protocol, whether it is through 5G or LoRa or through Wirepass, any of this, right? Or eSIM, right? So it all depends on what is the purpose, but I see the world going wireless, I will say that, right? Definitely a wireless, and but there will be a lot of things which will come in the ecosystem, and you will be able to connect to that and share the data, right? So I know Nanoprecise, when Graham is there, right? They have been working on that direction. I think that's the way it is, right? And I think they have been also trying to work with the ecosystem, whatever it is there. I think that's the right approach.
Yeah, Graham, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, no, you hit all the high points. I think there's going to be an interesting balance between cellular-based technology. So whether you call it 5G or NB-IoT or eSIM, those are kind of one camp over here, and those are tend to be higher bandwidth kind of connectivity versus these low power, long range, low bandwidth connectivities. So wireless for sure, it's happened everywhere. Like nobody, how many landlines for phones are connected in India? Last year, like zero, right? So, and I was just talking with a customer who actually went the wired route for a solution similar to ours last year, and they ordered it in February. They got the equipment in May, and they're still installing it because it's wired. And they commented to me that they're kind of regretting going the wired path at this point, but that's a different day. So but reliable connectivity will be the key, and I think it'll be really interesting to see this balance between cellular based high bandwidth technologies versus these low power long range ones, to see how that balance plays out and which use cases make use of each one.
Is when we start monitoring the plant and equipment with these tools like IoT and AI, this question is related to, again, data. What kind of data frequency do you think is optimal, Vineet, in terms of capturing that data or a parameter or different parameters from the machines, rotating machines?
So Manish, there is no one right answer. I will be very honest about it, right? There is no one right answer. This is the way it should be. I would love every data to be at all the seconds, all milliseconds available, right? But does it make sense, right? I will tell you, it will become a combination of an edge and a cloud. When I say that, right? The way it will happen is there are few places, like if you are pulsing life of a human, you will need a continuous data, right? But if there are scenarios where only there is an anomaly, then that data should be pushed to the cloud, right? That kind of intelligence will be there. There are equipment, there are IoT devices where they look at that. The intelligence is built in this IoT device itself, right? At the edge. And if there is an anomaly, then only that data is pushed. So there is no answer that, okay, every second you need to push the data or you monitor the data. So it all depends on the use case and the purpose of it. If the purpose is life-threatening, definitely you need every millisecond data. But if the purpose is just to get a trend or get a analysis, which can, I believe, that can be even done on a daily basis, where you just hold the data at a edge level and just push at the end of the day, right? That's the way I see the world. Okay. I don't know, how do you feel, Graham, about it?
Graham, yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's bang on, and to use a pun, nanosecond would be great, but I agree, like it's and this happens all the time, right? Where there's this data lake, and people are like, well, I want real time. Well, what does real time mean? And I come from an engineering background, so like real time, when you're talking about transistors, is it's nanoseconds, right? Real time to like the human eye is totally different. So what does real time mean? And so it has this scale, and I completely agree with Vineet. When you're talking about human safety or those kinds of applications, real time has a different meaning. Where you need it at a much higher fidelity, much higher frequency of data capture, and even down to the sort of segment we work in is, there are certain assets that they need full online monitoring where it's down to that millisecond. If you have a $50 million gas turbine with magnetic bearings, you want shutdown to happen pretty darn quickly if something is not working well. But then you have a whole bunch of other assets that do not require that level of sophistication. So it really does depend on the use case.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, one final question to both of you is, Vinitji, what are the key challenges you face and how you try to overcome in terms of your digital transformation journey across these different businesses? Because these are all diverse businesses. Of course, they are process industries, but diverse businesses having unique challenges. So, what are the key challenges and how you plan to overcome them? A quick comment.
Yeah. So if you have to ask me my key challenge, I will tell you the first thing, I'm quite privileged to work with great set of individuals. So human capital is generally a big challenge in any company, right? In this transformation. So we have great brains. It is just that we have to some for few of them, right? We have to educate them with the right sense of knowledge, right? That's all, right? Give them exposure and they will figure it out. So that's the first thing which most of the company has the challenge with, and we are working a lot on that. There is a lot of effort which has been put last 1 year, where we have really upskilled and cross-skilled many of them. Second, which challenge which I feel, and I'm not talking about general, what kind of challenge in such a diverse scenario which can happen. Second challenge would be finding the right people, right, in terms of right vendors, startups, because as I was talking, right, we have a Spark program where we have looked at 1,000+ startups. We are kicking off, rather we have kicked off our second leg of that. And this time we are looking at 1,500 startups across the world, right, which will work with us. So finding the right partners who can work and solve the problem is generally the second challenge which I see. But if you really ask me, the biggest challenge is the belief in everyone's head that this can bring a difference. So, and the only way to solve this problem is to show them with the success, right? The most important thing to show with the success is fail fast approach. Try small things. Don't go for a big solution. Don't go for a project for months, right? Pick an area which they are comfortable with, and this is not a area which will stop their production for months or a year, right? So go for an area which can show them a significant impact, but also can be done faster, right? Maybe in a couple of weeks of small POC. If you start winning people's heart that way, right? Helping them understand the benefit of it, people will just be with you, right? It is not about, nobody is against anything. Nobody is against this transformation. It's only apprehension, right? Whether it will help it or not. So you have to really help them understand, yeah, it makes sense, and then they'll do this. So out of the three, first, like what was on the upskilling, cross-skilling, or the upskilling, cross-skilling, or the culture side of it. Second side was on the technology side, finding the right vendors, right, which is the right technology. Third is this, it's a internal mindset or anyone's mindset. This is not generally to any company, anyone, right? You have to show a success to believe in this, right? So let's assume if somebody shows me they can walk on lake, right? Somebody first time, nobody will believe it. But if you start walking on lake, somebody will believe you. Yeah, you can walk on the water, right? So it all depends on your belief, right? If 30, 40 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago, somebody would be telling you that you can see something happening, a football match happening in Europe. Would you believe it? You said you are joking, right? So it is a belief system which you have to create. And once you create that, it becomes part of the normal life. So that is the phase we are in currently.
Absolutely. Very well articulated, Vinitji. Graham, your closing remarks in a minute, and then I'll propose vote of thanks.
Yeah, no, just Vineet, thank you very much for joining this event. Always good to get insights from, the people who are, on the front end of business. And, we have certain viewpoints, and it's nice to always marry, we see it as cross industries, but, particularly from the Vedanta group, you guys have you cross boundaries a little bit yourselves. So it's always interesting to see how you guys are organizing, innovation and, hearing your thoughts. And really great to see, that we're, aligned in a lot of ways, and just to hear your thoughts as well. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Graham. And thank you so much, Vinitji, for joining us for this fireside chat and sparing your valuable time and a lot of insights and the practical insights. As Graham said, you are close to the processes, and you have the pulse on what's happening in the manufacturing plants or a mining area. So thank you for sharing all these insights, and we look forward to engaging with you more in our future endeavors. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Thanks, Graham, again, and thanks, Vineet ji. Namaskar.